haven't been so tripped out watching certain sequences since probably the Raid 2. What's up, YouTube? Drive-By Movies here, and you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name's Blaze.
And today we're checking out the film that's relatively new to Netflix, Athena.
Hours after the tragic death of their youngest brother in unexplained circumstances, three siblings have their lives thrown into chaos. So Athena was released in 2022 on Netflix, and it's a French movie that I feel like didn't get a ton of play here in the States, but this was I'm pretty positive, the film that France decided to submit as their best narrative language feature for the Academy Awards foreign language films. So I don't think it got the nomination or anything, but that just was their submission. And interestingly enough, I felt like this film, I hadn't really heard a ton of people talk about it, but then I remembered that it had been sitting on my list since it got released, and I was like, what better way to check it out than Fresh Releases? Anyways, James, what'd you think of this movie?
Yeah, so this was my first time hearing about the movie, and one thing that grabbed my attention also is when I searched it, I saw that there was a making of, so that got me really pumped to watch it just because it's been a while since I've seen I mean, maybe they do it for all their shows and exclusive movies, but it's something I haven't really noticed a whole lot. But I remember when we saw Army of the Dead a couple years ago, like I really enjoyed watching the behind the scenes making of features, and so that got me pumped with this one because I was expecting some very cool like camera work. But I got more than what I bargained for, honestly, with that opening shot within the movie. This movie is just, for the most part, just edge of your seat nonstop, just like backstabbing and just consequences coming back to haunt you, and all within quick short periods of time with hardly any moments to catch a breath. It's a really great movie, and I wish I had found out more about it. I saw that a lot of it was shot with IMAX cameras, and I'm bummed though that this didn't play in IMAX yet. I saw Army of the Dead, which kind of dull in story but was wonderfully shot. I thought this movie excels with just the wonderful cinematography, the music, the acting, its pace. And just really love the story within this movie, despite it being not too overcomplicated.
Definitely. I really enjoyed the aspect of this movie trying to be a Greek tragedy but told in modern days. I felt that it was very effective with that, especially the music that was just so it was just this nice classical music that really bellowed and rose at times that were really, it just made you feel like this was this huge epic story. And the way that this is shot is just very epic. There's just tons of crazy crowd shots and tons of extras, and one of the things that this film didn't utilize was CGI, even though honestly I felt like it probably could have been utilized at times, but they were so effective at not using CGI that it really paid off, having these scenes with tons of extras, pyrotechnics, fireworks, and this camera that constantly is moving through shots, setting up shots. The film doesn't boast something like 1917 where it's kind of trying to be one solid take. There are edits throughout this film. I don't think it was trying to hide the moments of where it stitches. That opening shot I think is 7 different shots stitched together, and you can see the camera go in and out of pillars or darkness, and it's kind of evident that there would be a stitch between different takes there, and that's fine. I don't think that what made that shot as impressive was that it was an unbroken take. It's more just the effort of the camera moving in and out of scenes where everything seems so perfectly orchestrated and directed that it really, you could feel the gravitas of the performances.
Yeah, and as well as the stunt work too, because it's been a while since I've seen orchestration go into a movie like this. I haven't been so tripped out watching certain sequences since probably the Raid 2, just because there's a lot going on in the background, and it's not just the main fight choreography, but it's just everything going on with like you said, the fireworks. I thought a lot of it was CGI, but I guess, I was wrong because they tried to use as very little as possible. But yeah, while I did see some of the sequences where it like might have cut or it was like a quick turn for the camera in that opening 10 sequences, the fact that they were able to like kind of edit it 7 different times into one long looking sequence actually impressed me, because I thought I only caught it like maybe 2 or 3 times, but also it's just what I thought were like cut sequences. But it just doesn't take away from the movie. I think sometimes when I watch a movie like 1917 or Birdman, like I enjoy it, but then I'm like, where are these sequences? And I liked that this one was more like Children of Men, where it's still just your normal narrative, but just has a lot of long takes to let us just kind of soak in the atmosphere and take in the overall grittiness that we see within this movie.
Yeah, I definitely feel like even though there are those impressive moments where it might seem like a solid take, it didn't feel as gimmicky as something like, I enjoyed 1917, but I do think that it gets you into your seat because the gimmick is that it's, one take.
Yeah.
It's not, but the gimmick is really what gets you into the seat. Whether the film overall feels super gimmicky or not, that's really up to the viewer. But I felt like this film felt more gimmicky in the narrative storytelling, though, where this film honestly picks up almost, it feels like in the middle of like the third act, or like, sorry, the middle, or I guess at the beginning of a third act of a film. It feels like literally the conclusion or the finale of a huge epic movie, but you didn't really see anything before. Throughout the film, though, you do get the reveals of essentially the things leading up to this moment of which this film starts, which I liked. I mean, it's honestly the twist at the end of the film. No spoilers, but that's what happens. So it is interesting that that's the way that they chose to narratively tell this. I know that like when I was looking on Letterboxd, it seemed like a lot of the gripes about this movie were people that didn't feel like the way that this film chose to narratively plot itself out were effective necessarily. For me, I enjoyed that. I honestly really liked the narrative structure of this movie because there was still so many twists and turns throughout the movie that I didn't feel like missing that moment in the beginning that introduces our characters all before shit hits the fan really would have done more for this movie than the twists and turns we saw throughout the film.
Right. Yeah, no, that was like something that I was like kind of thinking about, like, because, when you hear action movies and something that has like a big following or gets reviews, you wonder, are you going to make a sequel out of this? And this isn't the kind of movie or narrative where I feel like one would be needed, just because it's such heavy on the subject for the most part, and, relates to a lot of the stuff we see throughout the world as well as our country. But just also, like, I mean, I guess you could technically see a prequel, but the movie was paced so well, and I liked that it like took a different approach of just kind of almost feeling like a conclusion of a film or third act. And yeah, I can see why some people would have had a problem with it. From what I saw, it was a lot of people were saying that it felt a little light on the story, but I thought, like, for it picking up in the middle of a story, we were fed all the right things to kind of understand what was going on and stuff. And yeah, it left me wanting more, but not to where I feel like I need a prequel to see, like, where this video, like, the movie overall is about this film or video that has leaked online and stuff. And yeah, like, you could go into more background with that, but I thought it did itself justice just the way it was made.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like it's just that final punch before the end of the movie, and it really was effective. Honestly, there's so many moments throughout this movie that I felt like was effective, but honestly, that being the final, it was, extremely effective. It feels like we see it felt like something that could happen technically, like, and I think that's probably what made it hit so close to home. Right.
Yeah, and we're also always going to be those big fans of like 90-minute movies, and yeah, this one's like 95, so yeah, I don't think it needed that extra length that some people might have wanted and stuff. Like, if you're a big fan of 2.5-hour movies, like, yeah, they could have gone in that direction. But personally, I'm here to say, though, I think this movie is great as is, and like, definitely go check it out.
Definitely, yeah, I agree with you there. I think, like, if you haven't heard of this movie, it's definitely worth checking out. If you have Netflix, like, this is one that I feel like was honestly slept on. I haven't really heard that many people talk about it. Maybe, I don't know why, I guess just maybe a French movie. I feel like we did watch a couple of French movies last year. The Genet movie, which I think I liked it. I think you disliked it. I can't really remember that. But other than that, haven't really heard a ton of stuff that's made in France, like on Netflix, get a more play than outside of France probably. So this is definitely one that's worth the shot though.
Yeah, I mean, there's no excuse not to with it being on Netflix. It's the easiest platform for all of us to check out movies. So if you haven't already, be sure to check it out because, yeah, it came out last year and I'm glad that we're bringing it up again. Great way to help support the shows by leaving a comment, letting us know what you thought about the movie.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all latest updates.
If you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, be sure to catch all our updates for Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, as well as our Letterboxd reviews. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.